News, I'm Paul Thiongo.
All right, now we get to our conversation of the day, where we are talking about the hospitality industry in Kenya and how it is performing. And joining me is Kevin Onyona, who is the CEO, Swahili Villages. Thank you so much for joining us on Business Today.
My pleasure, Kevin.
All right, so this week was Africa Climate Week. It's Africa Climate Week, and we had Africa Climate Summit that concluded yesterday. And as a person in the hotel industry, for a person who has a hotel within Nairobi, from where you sit, what do you think are some of the advantages that a person like that had maybe this week or is experiencing this week?
You know, when you have such an influx of people and guests coming to a country, and the guests are at a certain level of their lives, and so they are almost the kind of guests that are packaged a certain way. I think this should be a week where restaurants should have done extremely well, given just the sheer number of visitors we have around town. But it's quite broad, that area, because from my observation, a lot of the big names were able to really, immediately get this influx. And what they do usually is to keep them in the space. I don't know that there was a lot of spillage and how far that spillage went to be able to satisfy all the other areas, because a huge percentage of our hospitality is actually not in the CBD.
Yes.
It is outside of the CBD. It is in areas of, even residential areas actually now cater for a huge percentage of the hospitality consumption. Yeah, so here's where I see the similarity of what happens in Newark, New Jersey, for instance. Newark, New Jersey was known for as a city that was unsafe. So they taught their police and the security team to know how to receive thousands of people in, and know how to take thousands and thousands of people out, without understanding the dynamics, to let this force coming in with money to spend to go to other parts of the city and benefit the other local restaurants because of security. I see this a lot. New York has clearly changed quite a bit because they are learning to adapt, because the city has spent a lot of money on security. This is just what happens in cities globally.
Okay.
That when you have that many people, security is alerted to drive traffic this way and drive it out this way. And those that have received them, keep them.
All right. All right. So still, on the hospitality industry, when we look at the Kenyan market, when you started Swahili Village and you took it out into the globe to try and also just introduce even the Kenyan cuisine to the other countries, since when you started up to now, when you look at the hospitality industry in Kenya, how are we performing?
I think we're doing great. I mean, even just a sheer number of hotels that have sprung within the last 10, 15 years, it's amazing. And clearly we are also adapting to a lot of global understanding of hospitality. I think that has been the result why we are training a lot of hospitality students to come into that space. I think just about all the universities that I've visited in the last 3 months have School of Hospitality and Tourism. So clearly that space is looking good, and there's anticipation that it's going to get better. I would argue too that still there's something lacking on the authenticity of our food in most of the restaurants that I visit, especially the high-class restaurants. I serve authentic Kenyan food in a fine dining space. In other words, a 7-star setting that serves nyama choma, ugali, sukuma wiki, kachumbari, and dengu, chapati, pilau, in a fine dining space. I haven't seen that in most of our upmarket restaurants. And I argue that that has really denied that the farmers, and for instance, because now you realize a lot of the foods that we serve in our hotels at that level are imported. You know, they don't serve a full size, fish that is, and then they miss out on things like omena. They miss out on things like goat, served in a beautiful setting, because the idea is that this person is eating, understanding that he's eating at a certain level. But we can serve our food at this level. We serve githeri, we serve mokimo in a beautiful setting, and that's probably one of the best sellers for us, because it's vegetarian. It's clean. It finishes off well in your stomach, and it looks good too. I mean, greens that are not necessarily vegetables, but it is vegetables. It's very interesting. But yeah, so on the value chain, there is an aspect of it that is missing to the farmers directly, because we import so much of the food that we serve on the high-level restaurant, as opposed to going local. Saga, managu, mrenda, terere, those things, those are good. Actually, those are called health foods and medicinal foods. And this is what now we're trying to really go after in the American market. Part of the reason I'm here is to see if we can get proper, consistent supply of that vegetables, because
the indigenous ones.
Indigenous vegetables,
yes.
We have a food traffic of 5,000 people a week on every location. So on the 3 restaurants we have currently, you're looking at 15,000 food traffic every week. In a month, 60,000. In a year, 720,000. And so far we have been able to capture this audience very well, and we are growing. Next year we'll have 3 more locations.
Okay, all right. So basically, Kenyan food sells, right?
Yeah.
So when we look at the other areas, let us look at even countries that are, of course, neighboring countries, and also even around the globe. What could you say that they are doing different that maybe we, because you've spoken about we import a lot of the food that we usually consume in restaurants. So what are they doing different from us, and what can we pick from that? And do we even have the capacity to make sure that at least our marketing out there is up to standard?
Well, that's a good question. That's what Swahili Village is doing. So we are very intentional about how our motto goes. It is true taste of Kenya. Meanwhile, I would say 70% of our customers are not Kenyans. We serve, I would say, maybe 10% Kenyans. So you have to be intentional about putting your product out to the marketplace, so that other communities can see you straight from that lens, that this is a Kenyan choreograted dish that is making no apologies and wants you to be able to enjoy it. And so we have the 3 locations we are running currently. One of our most successful ones is in downtown DC on the Diplomatic Corridor. There is purely international clientele that come there, and they have been very impressed to enjoy this. If you think about it, Ethiopians don't say African, or they say Ethiopian cuisine. And if you go to Ethiopia, you go to any part of this globe today, you'll find an Ethiopian restaurant somewhere, and people recognize it. Chinese went to America using their food, and now Chinese cuisine is everywhere in the globe. Japanese came up with this sushi. They came up with this whole hibachi thing.
But don't you think Kenya, we say nyama choma? Is nyama choma, can you say, when you say nyama choma somewhere, someone thinks of Kenya, right? Or
yes.
What would you say?
Well, this is something we own, and this is what Swahili Village does. Our menu says nyama choma. ugali, sukuma wiki, chapati. It is. That's for food, right?
Yes.
Remember, nyama choma is eaten across Africa. Africans all eat nyama choma. They call it different names.
Yes.
So in Nigeria they call it suya. In West Africa they call it suya. Up in the in Egypt they call it kebab. And then as you come down, you'll find Ethiopians call it tibis. Then you go down, further down, and we get to nyama choma, and then it goes further, nyama mchomo within the Malawi community, and it just keeps going, and when it gets to South Africa, it's called braai. It's the same thing, different name.
Right.
So we've got to go after this nyama choma space, and that's actually we've done that very successfully in the US.
All right. Now let's look at our marketing. Then the strategies that we have when it comes to marketing our cuisine. Have we done all that is needed to be done in order for us at least to make sure that our cuisine is out there? Because when you are here, you usually know the sushi that you've mentioned. So are we there in terms of marketing our cuisine?
We are not intentional. And then I think the people who think we are there, I don't know where they get the statistics, because one of the best places to land your cuisine in this entire globe is the American market. Americans eat out every day, some of them, and at least twice or 3 times a week. So the first market you want to go after, and because they can afford it, and it's a cultural thing. They don't like to go out and try food. So this is a low-hanging fruit right here in the United States of America. If you intentionally invest your dollar or invest your capital to say, we want to go after this market, generally, once you penetrate American market, you have already penetrated the globe. So if you have it here, why not utilize it? So the platform we have, like the Swahili Village platform, for instance, is already here. You have 5,000 people coming to eat. They came themselves. They came themselves. They're sitting down here for 3 hours. It's a captive audience, right? And they're waiting for their nyama choma. The experience is nice. They listen to Kenyan music. The experience of hospitality is there, but you have them for 3 hours. They're dwindling their fingers, If somebody was intentional about this, they would say, oh, this is a good platform where we can talk about magical Kenya. We can talk about our country.
Yes.
We can showcase packages that can allow these guys to start thinking, oh, this is also an opportunity to think about safari. Research has shown that a huge percentage of Americans on their list before, if you tell them, what would you like to do before you die? That list goes and they say, here, African safari.
Yes.
Can you imagine a huge percentage of that? Say they'd like to do an African safari. And then you ask them, why can't you do the African safari? They say it costs too much. What do you mean? How much is too much? $30,000. That is what somebody put in their mind.
Yes.
That person was not intentional about bringing, selling the masses for safari to Kenya. That person wants to get maximum for the few that come.
Okay.
But should we take the space and be able to say, no, you can do an African safari, literally. But,
All right. All right, so intentionality is the main problem. All right, so let's also look at the last thing, even as we come to the conclusion of this conversation, the future of this industry. When it comes to what are some of the possibilities that we have, the opportunities that are supposed to be coming even to the Kenyan space when it comes to the hospitality industry, from where you sit, how does the future look?
I think the future is very bright if we intentionally decide this is where we're going to drive our marketing dollar to sell our country. There are so many areas, but hospitality is what is the best. I mean, once you feed somebody your food, that's it. And like I said, the Chinese went into America using their food. All these people use their food to get into the Americans. After you get them, they now want to come to visit your country because they already consume a good part of you, and then you've spoken with them and you've told them, hey, we're friendly to you. You're friendly to us. Please, we're on your side. Come and visit us. Come and see us. And that's really how they communicate. I think if we start thinking seriously about how to be able to intentionally go after these markets using platforms. Swahili Village is not the only one. I'm sure there are quite a few others, wherever they are. But then let's pick that and, scale it. Because, let me give you the numbers. Swahili Village is 3 units. Next year will be 6.
And all this outside Kenya, right?
And all this is in America.
Yes.
Yeah, and actually one of our best locations will be either in Dubai or in China. But that's a future,
Okay.
So my intention is to build 50 of them. If you do those numbers begin to make you go dizzy. And these are captive audiences that we can capture and sell magical Kenya to. Because let me tell you, Kenya is one of those countries in America, as I've known it for the last 25 years that I've lived there. Kenya is sexy to America. Kenya is it's a beautiful name to America. No, you will not find any American that to tell you from Kenya and doesn't go, oh man, my best spot, I really wish I could do an African safari. And their first destination when they have to choose where to go is always Kenya. This is clearly out of research. I've done it. I meet 60,000 people every month, and they're in my space, and I talk to them. And you can take that to the bank.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin, thank you so much for joining us today. All right, that is Kevin Onyona, who is the CEO Swahili Village, and he has restaurants in the US, just serving Kenyan cuisine. Now, we're going to go for a short break, but when we come back, we're going to also delve deeper into the construction and also other sectors. All right, so we go